Going live. On live. Okay. So this is Devs Discuss. It's where we discuss things about game development. And tonight we're going to be wrapping up our kind of thoughts on the Game Developers Conference from last week. Several of our members were in attendance there and got to see and hear and experience all that GDC has to offer. I'm going to take a second to move around to the other side of the camera. But I'm also going to grab... Nope, I left those upstairs. Never mind. I have notes. As many of us do.
I have no notes.
You have no notes?
With me.
What have you done with your time?
I'm not sure.
So,
I was going to make my notes tomorrow.
you're going to make your notes tomorrow.
A vlog the same day.
That's totally fine. So I think we'll start with what was everyone's favorite thing about GDC?
The fact that I think I heard like every single language being spoken by the native people.
That is pretty cool. Because it's such a small industry here in the Midwest. Pretty much everyone knows each other. And there's not a lot of diversity in our local community. I mean, you get a little bit. Like, I'm here. Woo-woo! We've got, like, Kevin and stuff, which is cool. Like, we have a little bit of, like, gender diversity, a little bit of racial diversity. But we all speak English. We all come from pretty much middle-class backgrounds, for the most part. So being in an international type of setting is pretty cool. And the weather was really nice compared to where we're at.
It didn't snow once.
It didn't snow while we were there.
The weather actually did not change once.
I was told it was a little bit cold for San Francisco this time of year. And they were sad that we were not experiencing, all that San Fran has to offer. But
it was a consistent temperature
it was
throughout the week.
consistently pleasant. It didn't rain.
It didn't rain, snow.
Did it rain?
No, not really. It was supposed to thunderstorm.
Did it sprinkle at one point?
Not a sprinkle.
Maybe. But generally, the weather was very nice, which was really great. I would kind of piggyback off of what you said. I really liked the feeling of how small the industry was. It felt like everyone was there, and like you could meet literally everyone in your industry pretty much. Besides Notch, because he's, on a yacht or something. But who needs him?
He's stopping making games essentially. Well, commercially,
which you can't really blame him. I mean, after a huge success like Minecraft, anything you make is going to be compared to that and the success of that. And
he doesn't really have to.
He doesn't have to.
When Microsoft really buys your thing, you've made it.
Yeah.
Buy a yacht and go to the
But it was cool because, I mean, I could go from one talk where I'm sitting next to someone who works on, like, the Xbox Live Avatars program to sitting next to a little indie developer who nobody's heard of. Or I always like when I'd meet people and their name badge would read, like, hi, my name is, like, John Smith. And then their company is just, like, Smith Games, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's one way to do it. Like, because some of the advice we got before we left was that you probably shouldn't like list that you're a student. Although generally, I feel like people were really, welcome to talking to students about their experience. But generally, like I put Return of Etheria, so it's like the game I'm working on. It's not exactly a company, but it's not, like Timmerman Games. So it's really interesting, the sense of community that I got there.
Everybody was really nice.
Everyone was willing to talk. And the very few people that weren't were, understandable, or like they're in it for the wrong reason. They're not going to be in the industry that long, probably. But like big names were really willing to talk to anyone for the most part. And that was really cool.
I talked to like more than 5 CEOs.
Yeah.
Throughout the week.
And it was people from all over the games industry. It wasn't just game designers and it wasn't just 3D people or programmers. I got to talk to people who work in like localization, which I didn't really, I mean, I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know that there were like people in the industry that did it. I just kind of thought it was outsourced to like translators. So I met some really cool localization people and other people that I just didn't really think of as being in the industry, like game writers. You always hear that game companies don't hire people for writing, like, but they do. And so I met a bunch of people at the Narrative Summit who all they do is write for games.
I was always told that, yeah, they hire writers,
But they
but
don't.
you have to be like a published writer.
Yeah,
with a
like
book
they
every
hire
year.
like real, not saying we're fake, but like real writers. Like they're published. Focus is
Accomplished.
writing like books and stuff rather than games usually.
Like it's one of the harder things to break
It
every
is
industry
one of
for.
yeah. It's a small
Writing.
industry. I think I sat in a room with pretty much all of the game writers in the industry.
Like,
It was a decent sized room.
I think me and Frank are the only, real serious just writers
Yeah.
that are at this school. That are.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ryan, what did you like? Because I know you were there. I saw you and I said hi and you just kept walking.
You did? I didn't-
Yeah. I
didn't
walked
hear.
past you at the Indie Games Festival as we were all leaving. I was like right behind you. I was like, hey Ryan, and you're just like, I need to get out of here.
I didn't even hear anybody.
Exactly. You were in the zone. It's a big crowded room. But yeah, what's your favorite thing?
I don't know. I found it a little bit intimidating to talk to people I didn't know, so I didn't talk to a whole lot of people. But I did like the fact that you heard every language. Like, I only speak French well aside from English, so I kind of the only place I heard people talking another language where I understood it was the Ubisoft booth. But
I have that same problem. I'm not very good with talking with people, just striking out conversations. So I actually just went ahead and walked around with Kevin. He was really good at talking to people.
I always say it's good to have like a conference buddy. Like I went to SIGGRAPH back in August, and back then like Josh was my convention buddy because we were both there, and I was like the only person I knew from here that was there. So like you'd go to sessions and like help network with each other and other people. So like if I met a really cool programmer, I'd be like, hey, I know someone you should meet, and vice versa. And it kind of helps if you are one of the shyer people to have someone that you can kind of bounce conversation off of, along with people that you haven't met, which helps a lot. One of the things that I didn't expect to happen, but did kind of, was I brought a really cool notebook to write all of my notes in. So it's got like owl print and stuff on it. And a couple people noticed that. And that's how I started conversations, was if they asked me about my notebook, I'd be like, yeah, I'd show them like, because it's got different pages that are designed different ways. So I'd show them that. And then I'd ask them like, what do they do? Or like, is it their first GDC? Or, what was their favorite session so far? And use that to start a conversation with someone that I wouldn't normally, have even really noticed, because you kind of feel like you're in a bubble when you're just sitting in your chair waiting for the next session to start. But yeah, I kind of made it my goal, because I'm not great in like a party setting, although GDC is a really big place for parties, and some are good for networking and some are good for just partying and drinking. But I kind of made it a goal to introduce myself to at least one person at every session I went to. Not necessarily the speaker of the session, but just like someone who's sitting next to me, who, I don't know, either they noticed my notebook or like I overheard one of their conversations or something. Like I went to a session about augmented reality and alternate reality games and how to write narrative for them, because they're different from other games. And afterwards, I was just kind of sitting in the audience waiting for the next session, and I got into a conversation with a couple game writers about the project I'm working on, Return to Etheria, which is an alternate reality game. And so I got to tell them about like what we did to get past some of the problems that the speaker before had talked about, and got into a really cool conversation with them. So I think setting little goals like that really help more than some of the more high intensity situations you can get into at GDC. You know, one person at a time.
I think one of the big problems I had was that I was kind of going there to try and find an appointment.
That is a
And
difficult thing, yeah.
that's, giving someone your business card and talking about, what you can do, especially when you have a profile that's pretty much 6 months worth of,
Yeah,
from the day you started to that point.
yeah,
I mean, that wasn't really a great idea. It would have been better if I just talked with people and if that part showed up,
yeah.
then I'd show.
That is a difficult thing, especially for students who want to go there and they want to get that job. And I didn't even touch the career pavilion at all at that point. Partially because I just didn't feel like I was ready or like it was the right thing for me at the time. But also because it is so crowded. It's full of people who are there for the exact same reason to get a job.
The career center,
Mm-hmm.
there were very few people looking for employment,
Yeah.
but it was completely full.
Yeah.
But not all those people were looking for employment. They were just looking to show their game.
That too, yeah.
Which I found a whole bunch of really cool games.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about GDC is that you get to see a lot of other people's work. And not only is it inspiring, but also sometimes you can learn things that someone did in their game that you might be able to apply to something you'd like to work on in the future. Which is really cool because there's such a collection of people from big names to indie developers to just like game jam games. One of the cool things is if you do train jam, which is a train from Chicago to San Francisco a couple of days before GDC starts, and people just get on it and they make games the whole time, is all of those games that get made at train jam get shown at GDC for the whole week. Like this was the first year they did that, but they lined them up along like the second or third floor banner area, and you could play like a bunch of games that people had just made a couple days before and see what people had done, which was really cool. And I feel like I didn't spend enough time checking out other people's games, but there's only so much you can do in the time you're given.
Yeah, there were some games that were being shown that if I'd see an advertisement for them or saw them being played in like a video, I would have found them to be really weird and really, really creepy.
There's a lot of weird games that get made.
Like the one that had like push me, pull you.
Mm-hmm.
That game I would not pick up if I just saw a video of it, but actually picking up the controller and playing it was really fun.
And that was nominated for a Nuovo Award
Yeah.
at the Indie Games Festival.
You want to know what I really do know? Where the hell's Kevin?
I don't know. I saw him earlier.
Said he was going to Concept Art Society. He
Oh,
had to go, share
they're
art food.
they're right over there if you want to shout through the door with them. Because AJ's over there too, and he should probably be in here since he went to check out Pixar. Same with Kevin.
Yeah, they really need to be here.
But other impressions of GDC, like so far, what would you say is the number one advice you give to someone who's going for the first time?
Focus on actually connecting with people, not just giving out your business card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a stack of business cards this thick. I can't tell you, except for like the bigger names in there that I made note. I can't tell you who those people are. And I'm pretty sure my cards and stacks
are just
similar
like other
size.
people's, yeah.
And they don't remember me either.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And I would say, yeah, those face-to-face connections are probably more valuable than handing your resume to someone in the career center, most likely. And kind of what I heard from some GDC veterans is that your first GDC, you're probably not going to get that job, but you're going to make connections with people who, if you stay in connection with them and you show them your work occasionally and just kind of get to know them and build that actual relationship with them, next year will roll around and they'll know about a couple opportunities that you should check out. And then they can hook you up with those. And vice versa. If you hear about something and someone you met kind of fits that, you should probably tell them about it. One of the really cool things I learned, so just a little bit of background. I got accepted for the Intel Diversity Scholarship, which was the first time that's been given out. So I was one of 27 women from around the world who got this scholarship. We got to meet up, which was really cool, for one, because those are connections that I'm going to have forever. And we're going to see each other every year. And one of us just got their first internship because of GDC, which was really cool. But part of the program was we got to meet with people every morning from the industry to just kind of ask them questions about how they got started and everything. And I got to talk to Mark Cobrin, who heads the Xbox Live Avatars program. And he gave me this really interesting piece of advice, because last time we were talking about building a better industry and the problem with layoffs. And he told me that layoffs, like when a whole company shuts down, can actually be a blessing in disguise, because all of those people you have really strong connections with because you've been working with them are about to get scattered across the globe, which is sad because, I mean, you're not all working together. But those people are going to get jobs here and there and everywhere because it's a small industry. And you're going to have connections with people pretty much anywhere you could want to work, which is kind of cool. Because he talked about, like, he went and he worked in, like, Poland for a little bit, and he worked in Australia for a little bit. And it was because of the connections from a company that he had been laid off from with a bunch of other people. And then they were able to kind of help each other establish themselves at other places. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting way to look at it. Obviously, I mean, layoffs are not great. We shouldn't be, aiming for them. But when they do happen, it's kind of a cool thing what can come from them. Because it is such a small industry. And I didn't feel that before I went to GDC, because I didn't know people from this coast and that country and that continent, but now I do, because I was able to go to GDC. And so I think that's, especially for someone from the Midwest, that's one of the most important things I got out of GDC was that sense of community. We all came together, and yeah, we're spread out, and we're only going to see people from our area of the globe for the next 11 months. But, next year rolls around and we get to see each other again and see what everyone's been working on. And I think it's kind of cool. And we're still new to the community, obviously, but give it a few years, we'll be talking to people who it's their first GDC.
And once you actually get them, I was talking with somebody from Riot,
Mm-hmm.
the art director, I think. And he kind of said, once you get in the industry and work at a company and people know that you actually are competent, you can get a job just in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And if you work with, and if you start off, you do 3D modeling
Mm-hmm.
for a company and people get to know you and they know that you actually have a good work ethic, and you go up to the lead game designer at your industry and say you want to design a game, they'll mentor you.
Yeah.
And then when they find a project that you could come in on, they'll help you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of tells me that getting into the industry
It's probably the hardest part.
is the hard part.
Once you're there, we take care of our own. So don't mess up that first job, because
I mean, messing up the first job's probably going to get you blacklisted in our industry. That's kind of a big thing.
Ooh, let's fix that. You're really quiet, man. I will get that fixed.
Better?
Better.
Yeah.
Cool.
See
Sorry.
if I get adjusted on our end first.
I think a lot of that kind of speaks to just the kind of objective of GDC that I think a lot of people, especially first years, tend to miss over is that it really is a long game. You know, it's really about, you know, like you guys said, making those connections and keeping them, as opposed to just making those connections, which I find a lot of. This is my fourth GDC this year.
It's one of Cody's
And,
friends.
yeah, Cody Claiborne.
Yeah. I think a couple of us were wondering, like, who's the dude in the yellow shirt? I'm like, it's a CA.
It's a CA. I think this is my fourth GDC, and I think a lot of what you guys are saying right now is kind of speaking a lot to what GDC is at large, and it really is kind of this community that comes together, disbands, contracts, comes back in, you know, and it's just kind of this cycle. And as long as you keep up with the people that you've been keeping up with, you have a much better shot at finding work, finding a company, finding a home, finding, you know, whatever it is that you're looking for there. But I think it's really important, especially in terms of, you know, having a goal. It's really important to keep in mind that it really is not something that happens for 1 week. You know what I mean? You guys are all connections, right? Right on.
So Cody's been helping out with our student project over in the convention center today, which is why he's not here right now.
Yeah,
If you wouldn't mind telling us just a little bit about your background and how you got involved with being a conference associate, because I think a lot of people are going to want to hear about that.
Oh yeah. Being a CA has probably been like the most important thing that has happened to me in a long time, short of maybe graduating at Columbia. My name is Chris, by the way, from Chicago. What's up? I met Cody actually as a CA this year. He's a super rad dude, by the way.
Oh, speaking of
Speak of the devil.
I was just talking trash about you.
cool.
Yeah, it's all good. But you know, as far as being a CA goes, this was my third year, and every year it really is about, you know, the folks that are coming there, not just to, I guess the way that I've always described it is, I'm not going to GDC, I'm not going to be a CA, I'm not doing it as a method of finding work and as a method of finding like a job or something. I'm going with the intention of finding people to work with, and that is probably one of the guiding things that has found me a lot of the, I don't know, like projects per se that I've worked on, as opposed to industry jobs. Sound design is kind of a little bit of a different gig, I think, than some other ones. But you know, they're all different disciplines, and they've all got their own kind of methods to their madness. I'm sure if you guys hung out at the artist boot camps, you probably saw the same like 12 artists each year. That was you guys, I think.
Yeah, that was us.
You know, by the same token, if you go to the audio boot camps, it's probably the same like 12 folks kind of running the show each year. You know, you get to know a few people, then you get to know a few more people, and that's kind of how it keeps going. Yeah. I didn't really have much of a thing to that end there. But yeah.
So we got you now, and we've got Cody. So what we've covered so far has been like, what's the coolest thing you've seen at GDC? I suppose, Chris, that goes like all 4 years for you. Like, what has been your wow moment?
Oh man. I met the dudes who did jazz punk, I think 2 years ago or last year.
Amazing.
And I got like, you know, I think I was 21 that year. I just turned 21, and I was asking them, I was like, you know, this game that I've been playing all this time into, and like, super awesome, whatever. I was like, so how old are you guys? And they're like 24, 25. I was like, you know, that was the moment where I was like, man, this is possible. You know, this is not something that you just go to school for, you put down and then you go do or something. Like, it's something that you can actually do. You know, the IGF awards are always my favorite part of the week. I kind of can't say quite so much about the gang awards, but the IGF awards are just always really fun, and it's nice to see that there's like, you know, this flourishing originality in the industry that, you know, sometimes you go to Target and it doesn't look like it's quite so original anymore.
Cool. Cody, favorite moments?
Honestly, since this was my first time and my first time being a CA, just the whole fact that I was a CA was my favorite moment. Just like the whole CA experience and in like everything from like playing Joust with people and like Witch Hunt and like just all the morning meetings and just meeting everyone was just a surreal experience.
Cody, did you cry at any of those morning meetings?
Not the morning meetings, but the last day. Yes. I pretty much held it in for most of it, but once I hugged Ian, I couldn't hold it in anymore.
Yeah.
Yep. Indeed.
And then the other thing you missed was first impression, first piece of advice you'd give to someone for their first GDC.
Try your hardest to become a CA.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. If you can make it, I say make it in a weird way because it's not like something that you make or don't make.
Yeah.
You know, it's only about 400 people that get picked, and there's thousands of applicants. So it's really not a matter of if you make it. It's just a matter of if you get picked. If you're lucky enough to get picked, take full advantage of that. The essay is obviously what gets kind of weighted the most heavily. So if you put a good amount of effort into really thinking about why you want to be at GDC, they'll notice.
Yep.
They'll notice that.
All right. So we've covered favorite thing and advice.
Samantha, what was your favorite thing? You went to GDC.
I did go to GDC.
Did you say your favorite thing?
I think, and I don't remember what it was. So, I mean, I had a lot of favorites. I feel like the whole week was my favorite. Mostly the sense of community, especially being a part of the Intel program was really cool. Just because, I mean, this is a time in our history as far as an industry goes where we're really looking at women's issues and diversity in our industry. But I hadn't really thought about it that much. I mean, I've always been in a program where I've been accepted. I haven't had any problems as a woman in the industry. I'm sure there's only like 5 of us in our program, and we all know each other. But I think especially for some of the other girls, where they are the only girl in their program, and they come from countries where it's not really an acceptable career choice. It was really cool to just all come together. We're all at the same point in our life for the most part, and we all got to get to know each other really well, even though it was a crazy week. So I'd say like it's kind of like the CA program on a smaller level, but I mean you're meeting so many people who are there for the exact same reason, and you're gonna get to know them forever. And it's kind of that same feeling of I'm gonna grow up with these people, and I just met them, but I love them, and like
Nice.
celebrating like that first job or that internship that you get and things of that nature is going to be really cool. And I'm looking forward to next year because like I said, it's the first time they've run this scholarship program. And one of the troubles they faced was they couldn't get us mentors because it was last minute for one, but also just because it's kind of hard to find like the perfect mentor for each person. So I'm looking forward to next year being able to be a mentor to someone who's going for the first time to GDC and in the same spot that I am right now. And even if I'm not like in the industry at that point, I think it'll still be really cool to share what I learned and get them ready for GDC and hopefully get to meet them there. I want to be there next year. So I'm looking forward to that and building that community of just people who didn't think they had a spot in the industry yet, and they definitely do. So that was my favorite. And then, yeah, the IGF awards are just really cool.
Very much so.
So looking forward to more of those.
Nice.
Ryan, you went, didn't you?
He did, yeah. He
Yeah, I
shared.
think I saw you.
He
around.
shared a little bit already.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the things that you've missed mostly.
Okay. No.
I wonder where everyone is because, like, I think half of our people are in the other room.
I saw Kevin in there.
I saw Kevin. I think Maverick and AJ.
Josh, I think, actually has to work.
Oh, wait. at the booth?
No. Like
Oh,
for his
actual.
here.
Okay.
Other than that, I think
Yeah.
we're all just trickling back in. From
They
Comic-Con.
yeah, mostly just people will be coming in. More pizza for us.
Save me a slice, guys.
we'll ship it up to the city.
Yep.
Cody will come hang out and he'll bring it.
Yeah.
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 I think what I'm looking forward to a lot, not necessarily most, but a lot next year is I want to do Train Jam. I really
Do it.
I want to do that so bad. So I think you'd make really good connections being trapped on a train for a whole weekend. More than anything. Like
never done
regardless
it
of
myself,
being
but I've
in
heard
the
it's
same
really fun.
industry, that just adds to it. But just being stuck on a train with people, you'd probably get to know
Yeah,
them pretty
I'd
well.
imagine so. A lot of cool games come out of Train Jam.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of it's up on my list of things I really want to see happen. Other thoughts?
Well,
I had a whole list and now it's gone.
Well, going off that, I guess the thing that I'm most excited for next year is like even if I'm not a CA or not, it's just seeing all the seeing all the previous CAs again. Just because like a week's not enough.
Yeah. It'll be cool to go back and know people.
Yeah, very
And
much
be
so.
like, hey, how have you been since last year? Hopefully you've talked to them since then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like going into a place and not just recognizing the people from your school. It's gonna be really cool.
One of the most interesting feelings I had was I ran into a speaker that gave a presentation about 3 years ago, and I recognized him. It was Brian Min, who used to be working at Double Fine and now working at Anki. And I just kind of surprised him out of the corner. I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And just started launching into that presentation and how it had affected me. And all of a sudden, we've been emailing back and forth for the last few days. So there's a lot to be said for that. Don't forget faces.
Yes, round.
It's kind of easy for me after the whole face memory thing.
Yeah. Like actually take. I mean, some people. I noticed some people at the audio boot camp degrees. This one dude was taking photos of people with their business card.
Yeah.
Before he took the
good
business
idea.
card, and that helped him. Make your own face memory.
Yep. I'd say definitely always write on business cards, even if it's just like a little note, even if it says their job on the front of it, write it on the back of it, just so that you
Make that
at least-
memory.
yeah, it helps me anyways. Remember, if I go through cards and I'm seeing like, okay, I don't exactly remember this name, but then I look on the back of the card and I'm like, oh, I remember writing this. I know exactly who this is.
Yeah, I would write like where you met them. So if you met them at a party or if you met them at a certain session, I think that would help. I wish I had done that more.
Yeah, me too.
And for the most part, I feel like I remember a lot of people, and then there will be a few that I'm like, I think I met you at the Narrative Summit. Your face looks narrative-y. Yeah,
Narrative is great.
You look like a writer.
you look like a writer, especially because it says right here that you are a writer.
Did I look
This
poor?
is Frank and Tiffany. Frank and Tiffany, this is Chris. He's a CA from Chicago. Oh, hello.
What up? I thought I'd jump in because these like postmortems are always really fun.
Yeah, it's cool to have a few people joining us. We just started doing these discussions this year, so we're getting there.
Keep doing them; they're good. And also, I don't know if any of you guys frequent the Chicago area, but Wargaming West will be hosting one, I believe, next week. So if any of you guys have the ability, Cody's got me on Facebook. I've got him on Facebook. I can shoot anybody, the event for that.
Cool.
Yeah, if you send the event to me, I will post it on our game developer group.
Yeah, I'll do it right now, actually.
Yep.
While I'm listening to you.
So we've kind of just been discussing some of like the favorite thing we saw at GDC, what we're looking forward to next year, and like advice for someone's first GDC.
Mhm.
Would you like us to come?
Yes.
What were your guys' favorite moments?
I had a lot of fun with the virtual reality thing. This guy used an Oculus Rift, and then he had these cameras that would video map I'm not video map, but they would recognize where your hands were. So if you're moving your hands like in the real world, he'd create a virtual representation in the game world, so you could actually see where you were moving your hand around, so you could pick stuff up. It was pretty awesome.
That was very cool.
Yeah, Tiffany and I tried out the Nod. It's a little ring that you put on with a motion tracker, and so you can like move forward by tapping like the top of the ring, or you can shoot by tapping the middle, or probably backwards. But you can control kind of your movement and the basic tools you would use in a virtual reality game with just your hand, which I thought was pretty cool to try out. I always enjoy seeing the technology that comes out of these types of conferences, so that was cool.
Nice.
I didn't mean to steal that from you.
No, you're fine. So that was really cool. I liked those like motion capture bodysuits that they were demoing. This were like, oh my gosh, I need like an entire basement set up for this. It will be beautiful.
Seb's been pushing for a motion capture lab for a while, but I don't think it's gonna happen while we're here because our animation program's not strong enough yet.
No, our program isn't that great. I would say for a first time GDCer, so that was my first time. I had the business cards. I had, as a 2D artist, I had a mini tablet which I was able to show my art on. I wish I'd had some more of my art pieces. I wasn't very thorough in gathering my favorites, and I also did not take the time to organize them so that I could like display what I thought were my strongest points first. So it was a mixture of my strong points and my weaker points, and I didn't like people seeing like something that I'm really proud of and something that I'm like, it's okay. But I wish I'd taken more time to organize that.
Yeah. Did you guys end up checking out the career center?
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? First impressions?
So the last day was horrible because all the students were
All
there.
the students are there.
So if you're there and you have a pass that'll let you in before Friday, go before Friday. Don't go on Friday. That's just dumb. There were definitely clearly some people there who were supposed to be hiring, and they didn't want to talk to anybody, especially if they saw that that person was a student, whether they were there before Friday or not. As soon as they figured out that you didn't have 2 years experience on you, you could see that they were done talking to you. Their attention went elsewhere, and I was like, wow. Really sucks because some of those people were at companies that I wanted to work for, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to work for you. That one person is kind of mean. Some of the people that were really friendly, Fengju School of Design were really friendly, and everybody from Sony I loved. I was just like, beautiful. It was good, but I would highly recommend going before Friday.
Yeah, I heard that a few places, so I think that is like that's a definite piece of advice. Favorite session?
Friday the expo day.
I know I got you right as you took a bite of pizza.
You know what my favorite session was.
I assumed it was the talk with Fengju on Friday.
You lucky.
The Fengju talk was the best. And it wasn't even like the art that was the most interesting about it. It was what advice he had to freelancers in general. And that was to, pay the money. It can be between $100 and $150, $100 and $150 depending on your state. Pay the money to get an LLC so you have a legit business name. And then as a freelancer, don't talk to other companies as a freelancer. Talk to them as a company, because companies communicate with you differently if they think they're communicating with a company than if they're communicating with a single person. And I was like, that's really interesting because that translates for everybody. That translates between artists and programmers and designers. Just don't. Cody Claiborne would not talk to Sony as Cody Claiborne. He would talk to Sony as CX Squared, his company name or whatever. And they would just treat you differently. They treat you better.
That seems reasonable.
Frank, do you have a favorite session?
The
Not really. Just
That's
because
fair.
I missed out on some of them that I had planned.
What was the one you wanted to go to the most?
I don't even remember now. to be honest.
I want to get real ones.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I don't really know.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Number One Reason to Be. And I didn't think I would. I thought it'd be a little bit cheesy. But generally, it was very inspiring to be around people who were kind of dealing with the same struggles and just going through kind of a tougher time in the industry, but all working together to get past that.
That was really good.
It was really cool to be there. And then I went to a lot of the narrative talks, which is weird because I'm not a narrative person, although like I've written on my own in the past and generally enjoy that sort of thing. But that was really cool. And I kind of got out of that it is sometimes good to go to sessions that have nothing to do with what you want to do, even if it's just to make connections with people who do stuff that you don't, because you'll probably need them on a project at some point, which is a really interesting way to think about things. I like what you said about, like, you're not just going to meet people, you're going to meet people that you want to work with. And so, like, finding people from different areas is really cool. Besides that,
So,
yeah.
on meeting people, don't wait for people to come to you because they won't. You have to be the one to say hi. You have to be the one to stretch your hand, say hello.
Or you need to be
so-and-so.
really interesting so that they can't avoid not talking to you. I
Yeah.
did tell them earlier about
Wear
the
a weird
notebook
hat.
I had. The notebook I had was a really good conversation starter. I had a lot of people who were like, "Oh, that's a really cool notebook," and so I could use that as a jumping off point.
Well, like I've already decided that when I go next year, I'm gonna wear my shark hat like every day. Yeah.
There's a lot of top hats.
I've heard weird hats work well.
There was a woman. who
I
was
think
with
our
that, and I
industry
talked to her.
really likes hats.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's our thing,
I like Val.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
and that works.
TF2 has ruined us.
As far as like a favorite talk, I did really enjoy the Telltale talk on when gameplay is your story or vice versa. When story is your gameplay. So that was kind of cool as a way to think about just how do you do a story that your player doesn't just feel like an actor acting out a script, but feels like they have power in your world. It's kind of cool.
It's like 80 days.
There were a bunch that I really liked. I'm working on a whole list. It'll happen at some point.
Eventually.
It will. Especially when the vault becomes active. I'm going to spend a lot of time in that. So, because there's only so much. That was the big piece of advice I had to give myself was there's only so many sessions you can go to in a day. They all overlap, obviously. And so I really focused on going to talks where I would be communicating with other people as part of the goal of that session. Because I feel like you can't record that sort of thing. You can record a session about, interior design and how it relates to environment art, but you can't record a conversation that you haven't had. So that's kind of what I had to push myself to do was if I knew I would be in a situation where I got to talk to someone, I went for that first. And then beyond that, go to sessions that you really, 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 really want to go to. And then go to some sessions that are not at all related to what you do, but are still kind of interesting to you, and then meet people. Because there's only so much you can do with your time. So. Puzzles.
Don't worry about that.
I'd have to say my favorite was I went to a talk on how to write an audio engine. And it wasn't so much the talk that was so cool. The talk was awesome and everything, but afterwards, the speaker and about like 12 of us went into the wrap-up room and just sat there and talked for like an hour, all about the like state of audio programming in the game industry. And it was really cool just meeting all those guys. Like the audio programmer from Unreal was there, or Epic Games was in there. And then the person who was hosting it was the audio programmer from Telltale. And it was really cool just meeting all the few of us that are audio programmers in the industry.
Totally awesome contact.
Yeah,
Network,
no,
yeah.
it really was. Yeah. Well, because it was a lot of people that were just trying to get into audio programming. So I met both the veterans of audio programming and like the up and comers.
The next generation.
Damn these chairs.
They'll kill you.
Ryan, did you go into any awesome sessions? Any
Yeah.
awesome audio
I went
ones?
to the How to Code an Audio Engine one,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I didn't stick around because I had another one that I wanted to
Ah.
go to.
What was your favorite?
I'd have to pull out my list of the ones I went to.
Too many good ones?
Yeah.
So then, outside of the actual sessions, what was one thing you really enjoyed? Whether it was a party or just like a networking opportunity or what?
I really enjoyed talking to Pete Cooper, just because I feel like he was the only real like gem of a conversation that I actually got to have with anybody. Just because he told me what I needed to hear, and so I approached him and I said that I wanted to be a game designer and an artist, and he said, "Well, we don't label yourself as a designer because everybody is expected to be a designer." So I kind of took from that, like, what I already had in my mind was, everybody's got ideas, everybody wants to make games, but what can you actually offer to a company? So whether that's art or audio or programming, like, what can you offer them tangibly that they can use to produce a game other than just ideas? Because we can make a game between ourselves. We don't need a third person who writes just story.
Yeah.
So everybody's expected to be a designer. And if you're going to be an artist, in my case, pick one facet of that pipeline and be really good at it. Whether that's environment artist or character art or what have you. And I'm sure like a lot of you guys might have heard from Zeb talking like generalist or specific. And he also told me not to create off of my own concepts, which I thought was interesting, but it made sense because what I took from that aspect of our conversation was like I could create my own fan art version of Mega Man or whatever and say like this is my own unique character in my own unique world. Nobody really gives a shit. People want to see that you can make Mega Man or Iron Man or Batman. They want to see that you can replicate the design that they hired you for because like he said, everybody can design, but what can you actually create for them? And I thought that was interesting and very valuable. So it's not bad to create your own concepts, but get used to making assets for other people's work.
That's mostly what you'll be doing.
Yeah.
Like, I think that one's kind of interesting because I know, like I listen to a lot of like things his videos. And, like, one of the things he's always going on about is like, don't make fan art because they don't want to see like I mean, for concept art, they want to see like your ideas rather than the technical stuff. The technical stuff is kind of expected. Whereas I feel like
If you're going to be a character artist, then you're going to imitate the styles that they've already
Yes.
set forth. So you need to be good at doing that and not coming in with your own style. If you're going to be a concept artist, that's where you don't work off of other people's ideas and you need to give your ideas to them.
okay,
So it's kind of a quiet day. We're still recovering, but
A lot to think about with this stuff.
yeah. So the week was really busy. So I really appreciated Thursday night rolled around and I went to the game loading showing,
Nice.
which was it was a nice break of pace. I got out of the movie and I'm not entirely sure how we made it back to the hotel without just passing out on the street because we were really tired after sitting in a dark room for an hour and a half. But that was really cool to see kind of, it was mostly games from like the 2013 like IGF type stuff, but it was cool to see that, kind of see the process that other people have been through, and to just sit with a bunch of people and appreciate kind of the history of this small part of our industry, and to not be focused on networking for a couple hours. That was nice. So I would definitely kind of say, like, make time to do something other than GDC, like halfway through the week, just so you can make it through mentally. Whether that's, going and sightseeing or seeing a movie or something that's not entirely GDC related, because you can get burnt out really quickly.
Yeah, you have to be able to pace yourself really, really well.
You don't have to be out till 2 a.m. every night at a party. You can go to sleep at 10. It's okay, I swear. You're not gonna miss the whole conference by going to sleep early 1 or 2 nights.
Yeah, and on that, I would say that it's actually, I found it rather difficult to network at the parties because most of the music was way too loud. And then half the time that people were drunk, and it's just like,
Well, yeah, you gotta be responsible if you're gonna drink at the parties. 'Cause you had some really sloppy people. And I'm like, I don't know how well I can even trust some of the connections I made that night, just because I'm not sure they're gonna remember the night.
Well, a good thing the Ian, the CA manager, said is that if you're at a party and you're really drunk, people will remember you.
Yeah,
They won't
and
remember
not
you
in a
for
good
like,
way.
yeah. Because if you're really drunk, you're gonna stand out, and like people will remember you being drunk, but they won't remember like, oh hey, he does really cool art or something. They will just
That
remember
drunk
you
guy.
being drunk.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever come out of a party once with a meaningful connection.
Oh.
That's been, and yeah, there's I think my second year at GDC, me and my friends had planned it out that we went to a party pretty much every night, and you come back with a stack of cards, but not one of those connections is meaningful.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, I guess.
Yeah, there are some smaller meetups that you can go to. I went to the writers' party on Monday night, and that one was a little bit too packed, partially because they expected like 200 people, but got 400 or something like that. So it was a little bit packed, a little bit loud. And I made a couple connections that were pretty cool because the connections I made happened to also know other connections that I was much closer to. So it was like, hey, we know the same people. But I probably would have gone to one of the same, like